Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa, Parivekacharya Stotra Sadasi Simad Abhay Charanara Vinda Bhakti-yoga Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Grantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki. Gundi Chamarjanam ki. Anitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurum Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitan Yena Bhutale Swayan Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu vyaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Welcome, Bhagavatam class. We're on first canto, chapter 9, text 36. Chapter entitled The Passing Away of Bhishmadev. Vyavahita Pritana Mukham Nirikshya. Vyavahita Pritana Mukham Nirikshya. Swajanavadhat Vimukasya Doshabhutya. Swajanavadhat Vimukasya Doshabhutya. Kumatim Aharad Atma Vidyayam Yas. Kumatim Aharat Atma Vidyayas. charanarati paramasya tasya me stu charanarati paramasya tasya me stu vyavahita pritana mukha nirikshya vyavahita pritana mukham nirikshya svajana vadat vimukasya dosha budhya svajana vadat vimukasya dosha budhya kumating aharat atmavidyayas kumating aharat atmavidyayas charanarati paramasya tasyamestu charanarati paramasya tasyamestu Yavahita pritana mukha nirikshya Svajana vadat vimukasya dosha budhya Umati maharadatma vidyayayash Charanarati paramasya tasya mestu Bolo. Vyavahita pritana mukha nirikshya Svajana vadat vimukasya dosha budhya Kumating aharat atma vidyayash Charanarati paramasya tasya mestu Vyavahita pritana mukha nirikshya Svajana vadat vimukasya dosha budhya Kumating aharat atma vidyayas Charanarati paramasya tasya mestu Ladies, Yavahita pritana mukham nirikshya Svajana vadat vimukasya dosha budhya Kumating aharadatma vidyayas Charanarati paramasya tasya mestu Vahita pritana mukha nirikshya Svajana vadat vimukasya dosha budhya Kumating aharat atma vidyayas Charanarati paramasya tasya mestu Vyavahita standing at a distance, pritana, soldiers, mukham, faces, nirikshya, by looking upon, swajana, kinsmen, vadhat, from the act of killing, vimukasya, one who is reluctant, dosha budhya, by polluted intelligence, kumatim, poor font of knowledge, aharat, eradicated, atma vidyaya, by transcendental knowledge, yaha, he, who, charana, to the feet, ratihi, attraction, paramasya, of the Supreme, tasya, for him, me, my, astu, let there be. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance, upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. Purport. The kings and the commanders were to stand in the front of the fighting soldiers. That was the system of actual fighting. The kings and commanders were not so-called presidents or ministers of defense as they are today. They would not stay home while the poor soldiers or mercenaries were fighting face to face. This may be the regulation of modern democracy, but when actual monarchy was prevailing, the monarchs were not cowards elected without consideration of qualification. As it was evident from the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all the executive heads of both parties like Drona, Bhishma, Arjuna and Duryodhana were not sleeping. All of them were actual participants in the fighting, which was selected to be executed at a place away from the civil residential quarters. This means that the innocent citizens were immune from all effects of fighting between the rival royal parties. The citizens had no business in seeing what was going to happen during such fighting. They were to pay 1/4 of their income to the ruler, whether he be Arjuna or Duryodhana. All the commanders of the parties on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were standing face to face, and Arjuna saw them with great compassion and lamented that he was to kill his kinsmen on the battlefield for the sake of the empire. He was not at all afraid of the giant military phalanx presented by Duryodhana, but as a merciful devotee of the Lord, renunciation of worldly things was natural for him, and thus he decided not to fight for worldly possessions. So I'll read that again. He was not at all afraid of the giant military phalanx presented by Duryodhana, but as a merciful devotee of the Lord, renunciation of worldly things was natural for him, and thus he decided not to fight for worldly possessions. But this was due to a poor fund of knowledge, and therefore it is said here that his intelligence became polluted. His intelligence could not be polluted at any time because he was a devotee and constant companion of the Lord, as is clear in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Apparently, Arjuna's intelligence became polluted because otherwise there would not have been a chance to deliver the teachings of Bhagavad Gita for the good of all polluted conditioned souls engaged in material bondage by the conception of the false material body. The Bhagavad Gita was delivered to the conditioned souls of the world to deliver them from the wrong conception of identifying the body with the soul and to re-establish the soul's eternal relation with the Supreme Lord. Atma Vidya, or transcendental knowledge of himself, was primarily spoken by the Lord for the benefit of all concerned in all parts of the universe. So what is the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita? Just read it. Anyone remembers? Purpose of the Bhagavad Gita? I'll read it again. It's just Prabhupada's own words. The Bhagavad Gita was delivered to the conditioned souls of the world to deliver them from the wrong conception of identifying the body with the soul and to re-establish the soul's eternal relation with the Supreme Lord. So these are the prayers by Bhishma Dev. He is lying on a bed of arrows, is just about to leave this world. And what is the essence of his prayer? What is the essence of his effort? He's trying to fix his mind on the Lord. And he's praying to the Lord, let my mind, may his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. So this verse, the previous verses, Bhishmadev is remembering the Lord in the feature that he was particularly attracted to as Parthasarathi. And it is a very beautiful relationship and very unique relationship that Bhishmadev had with Krishna, which I'm sure is being described in great detail up until this point. But that he wanted to see the Lord in his fighting spirit, in his chivalrous mood. And a whole arrangement was made such that him alone, he could see Krishna in his angry form coming towards him to attack him. And this is a loving relationship between Bhishmadev and Krishna. This is an intense loving relationship where the Lord is actually reciprocating with Bhishmadev to see him in that particular form. And what was Bhishmadev's offering to the Lord at that point? What was he offering to Krishna? He was offering him his arrows. He was shooting him with his arrows. And apparently the body of Krishna was hurt. There was blood in his body. And there was sweat. And Krishna had promised that he will not fight in the battlefield. So many things take place in this simultaneously. Many lessons that how Krishna was ready to break his own vow, his own promise to protect his devotee. So many, and also how the Lord, he's pleased with the mood of the devotee. Actually, Krishna, and I don't know if it's in next verse or previous verses, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains that the wounds on the body of the Lord, they were giving him pleasure. Just like sometimes a lover will bite the beloved, and sometimes maybe even blood appears, but there is pleasure. So this is the transcendental relationship between Bhishma and Krishna. And now Bhishma had the benediction to leave at his will, to leave this world at his will. Finally, Krishna is coming, and he is reciprocating with him by being also present there. And Bhishmadev is praying that may my mind be absorbed in this way. And this is the essence of Krishna consciousness. The essence of Krishna consciousness is that we become Krishna conscious. Simple, right? And what does it mean to become Krishna conscious? It means that our minds are fixed on the Lord. So how, the whole effort of human life is to somehow or other being able to fix our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. The test of the Krishna consciousness of Bhishmadev is that he was lying. You can imagine the pain or how uncomfortable the situation was for him at that particular time. But his consciousness is fixed. And because his consciousness is fixed, he has transcended the body. He's not even feeling the pain. He is able to instruct Yudhishthira. And he is able to fix his mind on the Lord. Now, can you imagine if you are not just hundreds of thousands of arrows, but if you have just one arrow in your body that someone has shot to you, will you be thinking of Krishna, with that kind of grateful mood and that devotion? I don't know. I'm not saying that you will not. You can inquire. You can introspect. Or will you be thinking about why this guy shot me the arrow? Will I be holding a grudge to the person who shot me the arrow? Shot me the arrow, like we do sometimes. We get arrows, sometimes subtle arrows thrown at us. Are we praying to Krishna, please let my mind be fixed on you, or are we meditating on the insult, right? So this is the consciousness of a devotee. And it is also being explained here through the pastime how Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was, as a kshatriya and as a pure devotee of the Lord, he was feeling so much pain because of the massacre that had taken place. And particularly in this purport, this explains how the mood and the spirit of the kshatriya was that the citizens were to be protected. The citizens didn't have to take part in the battle. Being a kshatriya doesn't mean being like a muscular guy, passionate, that is, very fearsome. The main characteristic of a kshatriya is what? He wants to protect. His protection. So our leaders, this is the quality of the leader. A leader should be in the mood of protecting the citizens to the extent of being able to lay his life on the battlefield while the citizens are back at home, safe. That's a kshatriya. A kshatriya is not someone who is, has an ambition for possession, to exploit, to use his position for his own welfare. That's not a kshatriya. And the example is given here. The ideal society, there is a class of humans that they have that natural tendency for leadership, heroism, and protection. And this is represented by the Pandavas, is represented by Bhishmadev, is represented by the warriors here. So I'll just read that again. It says that, he fought the battle not for his own sake. He actually fought the battle because Krishna instructed him. So now the meditation that Bhishmadev is having here is that he is seeing how Krishna was speaking the Bhagavad Gita, how he was preaching the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. That is meditation. In this particular verse. And Arjuna, who had been apparently put in ignorance. Why I said that he was apparently put in ignorance? Because he is a pure devotee of the Lord. So this is also an arrangement by the Lord for whose benefit? The whole battle of Kurukshetra was arranged for a particular purpose. What was the purpose? I mean, there was many purposes, right? One of them was to get rid of the many demons that were on the planet. But the main purpose was to establish Dharma. In which way? That Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita at a moment where everybody was attentive. The whole history of the future of the world is depending on the outcome of the battle. There is an anticipation who will win. Everybody is, very, very attentive about what's going on. And at that point, Krishna chooses to speak the Bhagavad Gita. For what purpose? Again, we just read it. Do you remember? I read it twice. What's the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita as described in this purport? Anyone? Yeah, that's half of it. And the other half, to deliver us from the conception of life, from the bodily conception of life, and to, yes, and to establish a relationship with the Supreme. This is Sambandha Jnana. Huh? Hare Krishna. So I was also requested to speak today on Gundicha Marjanam, because today we're celebrating this. And on this particular day, Lord Chaitanya, along with, thousands of devotees, they prepared the temple of Gundicha for welcoming the Lord. The Lord is coming on his chariot to Gundicha. And the temple in Jagannath Puri represents Vrindavan and represents Kurukshetra. Represents Kurukshetra, and and Gundicha represents Vrindavan. So the story goes briefly. I'm not going to go into the whole pastime, but just focus on the cleansing of the temple. That the devotees of Vrindavan, after a long time, they have met with Krishna at Kurukshetra. And again, there are very intense feelings. This is Bhagavatam. The whole Bhagavatam is about, the main topic of the Bhagavatam is in relationship to the intense feelings of love between the Lord and his devotees. So they have met at Kurukshetra, they haven't seen Krishna for a long time, and they are experiencing great satisfaction and pleasure from seeing him again, from being reunited with him. At the same time, there is a great fear. What is the fear? They are going to be separated from him again. And also, they are seeing Krishna in a different feature. He is dressed up as a king. He's surrounded by many, by his entourage, and so in this, intense situation of feeling of union, separation, happiness to be with him, the unhappiness to not be able to be with him as they love him, as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. The residents of Vrindavan, they are actually taking back the Lord to Vrindavan. So the meaning of the Ratha Yatra is that we want to bring Krishna to Vrindavan. We want to bring Krishna into our hearts. Now, for us to bring Krishna into our hearts, for Krishna to really sit there and be comfortable, be happy in our hearts, then the heart has to be clean. So, metaphorically, we understand the cleansing of Gundicha as the cleansing of the heart. And the pastime is enacted by Lord Chaitanya himself, who along with all his associates, high and low, Lord Nityananda, Advaita, Swarup Damodar, all the great big devotees, what is the Lord doing with them? He's giving them brooms to clean the temple, right? And they are all, cooperating in cleaning the temple. And Lord Chaitanya is cleaning the temple in a way which everybody is building. He instructed the devotees to clean and build piles of dust to see who is actually cleaning more. And it's explained that Lord Chaitanya's amount of dirt was bigger than all the other devotees put together. And those days there was no, like here we have like hoses, like we clean here at the temple. They have to bring buckets from in the Dimna Sarovara. So in this this spirit of cooperation is there, that at one point the devotees didn't have to say a word. Only they have to say one word. And what was that word? Krishna. Can you imagine the level of cooperation? That if you want to get things done, how difficult it is to get things done, right? Ask the managers how difficult it is to get things done. But these devotees were so Krishna conscious and so they have no other motivation than to please Krishna. All they needed to say it was Krishna, passing the buckets, passing the brooms. Krishna, Krishna. Have you been in that consciousness sometimes when you are like really kind of, inspired and enthusiastic? And I remember this in Sankirtan sometimes, when doing book distribution, it's like it's not so much what you say, it's the energy that you bring, when you approach people. And sometimes it may take you the whole day to kind of get into that consciousness where you can just basically show the book and they take it, And but if you're not in that space, that consciousness, where you're basically, all it is you are aligned with the desire of the Lord. You have, in book distribution, a lot of it's an internal fight, your own selfish, aspiration, desire for a big score, whatever it may be in the way. So many things are standing on the way of you actually delivering that book, to that person. And I remember it's a fight, and you're praying and praying and praying, and please, Krishna, don't let my conditioning stay in the way of your mercy. And at one point, Krishna just turns the switch. And, no matter what you say to anyone, they take a book. Even before you ask for the donation, they already put in the hand in the pockets, I remember one time I came to a point that I was just checking my bag. I have coins in my bag, and I would come to people and I was just checking it, and they will give. It was ecstatic, and I take a book. So entering into that consciousness of actually being totally aligned with the desire of the Lord, and this was enacted at this pastime. Along with the fact that, for the Lord to actually come and take residence in our heart, we have to clean our hearts. And this is such a important aspect of our Krishna consciousness, that we have entered into a process of purification. And that purification is a gradual purification. It takes place gradually, and a lot of the time, we come to the movement and almost like we reach where we pick up from before. But then there is this point where you reach a point where there is the real stuff that has been there since time, who knows how long for. Those anartha, that's conditioning. And that doesn't go away so easily. It's like in any effort that you make, you go through different stages, and you come to a point where it's the last residue, that to clean that, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of sincerity. And we can take the example here of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he is cleaning the temple with such enthusiasm that they cleanse the temple once, they cleanse the temple twice, they cleanse the temple thrice. each time in more and more and more detail. So when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, we have to be introspective. Sometimes I hear the word, I am trying to, I'm doing the best I want the best I can for Krishna. I'm open to hear, correction. I. But actually, am I really like that? Am I really willing to not commit offenses? I have really, desire to give up the enjoyment of this world. And the enjoyment of this world, it doesn't mean just like gross things. It means subtle things also. Have I actually given these things within my heart? And if we think we have, probably we have not. If we think we are okay, probably we are not. And this is why Lord Chaitanya had to clean again and again and again until the heart becomes so spotlessly clean that the Lord wants to come and there is spotless. There is nothing there. So what are those things that we need to clean in our heart? Like I just remember actually one thing that I heard many years ago from my Diksha Guru, and he was saying that the prema is like lion's milk. You see? And he says that lion's milk is so strong that only a golden pot will be able to hold it. Any other pot, the milk will get through. Yeah? He says a prema is like gold. Unless the heart becomes like, prema is like lion's milk. Unless the heart becomes like gold, the heart will not be able to contain that prema. So it's not, Krishna is willing to give that love to us. It's not that he wants to give it to us, but are we ready to take it? Are we ready to take that love? Is our heart pure enough to take that love? To develop the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, to develop the mood of Vishmadev. Have we really come to that point? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Harinam Chintamani, he mentions that we cannot experience the full brightness of the holy name until we have become free from the mist of ignorance and the clouds of anarthas. Like you cannot see the sun because there is mist. Sometimes in Mayapur in the morning, in the winter, you get this mist, right? You cannot see a thing. You are in the taxi and it's so dangerous to drive. Sometimes there is clouds, like it's being very cloudy here. You cannot see the sun. So why is it that we cannot see Krishna in our hearts? Why is it that we cannot experience the full mercy of the holy name? He's saying it's the mist of ignorance. So the mist of ignorance means having misconceptions about about the holy name, misconception about Krishna's position, misconceptions about Krishna's transcendental nature, my relationship with him. This is again Sambandha Jnana, and this is what Krishna removed from the heart of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So how important is for us to cultivate this Sambandha Jnana so that we can actually experience the full brightness, the full potency of the holy name. And then he is mentioning that the clouds are like anarthas. They are the anarthas. That there is 3 types that he describes. These are asat trishna, thirst for the impermanent, still wanting to enjoy the material world, for the impermanent things of this world, which come in the form of sense gratification in this life, desire to go to heaven, desire for mystic perfections, desire for liberation, freedom from suffering. And then there is Hridaya Daurbalyam. Hridaya Daurbalyam means weakness of heart. And what is the weakness of heart? Pratishta, the desire for recognition. Envy in the heart. Deceit. And when we hear these things, I'm not like that. But we should actually introspect. But if we are not experiencing the full brightness of the holy name, there must be some of that in us, in our heart. And then aparad. And it's 4 kinds of aparad. Vaishnav aparad, Jiva aparad, Seva aparad, Guru aparad. So as far as these things are in our hearts, then we cannot experience Krishna, the internal potency, the Visuddha Sattva. It will not enter into our hearts. Our hearts is closed. And we cannot experience Krishna. Like Bhishmadev is seeing Krishna there. He's present before him. His heart is completely cleansed. So days like today, we can meditate on making our hearts a suitable place for Krishna to come and reside there. And how do we clean the heart? That will be in this case, the example is being given here by cleansing the temple with such detail and with such enthusiasm. All the associates, everybody so enthusiastically cleaning the temple and cooperatively with others. So we have to clean the temple of our hearts. We have to clean the temple. We have to clean our houses, which is a temple for the Lord. Cleanliness is next to godliness. This is something, about Krishna consciousness, is paying attention to details. It's like sometimes the Guru or some senior Vaishnava may come to our home and we're hosting them, and then we clean everything very, very nicely, so that when the person comes, he feels welcome, he feels pleasant, he feels in a pleasant atmosphere, right? So we should be doing this constantly. We should have our place where we reside spotlessly clean. Prabhupada talked about revolutionary cleanliness. So it's internal cleanliness and external cleanliness. We do this through the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But even when we chant the holy name, in what mood are we begging? Are we begging for the nectar of the holy name? Or are we just, getting our rounds done, being inattentive, doing other things? Or is it that actually I have become conscious, painfully aware of my disqualification, of my shortcomings, of my desires, and I am in so much need of mercy. I want to drink this nectar of the holy name. I don't want to miss one mantra. And the mind keeps wandering, and I'm not able to control it, and I'm begging, Krishna, please help me. When the mind is attacking us with material desires, are we actually calling for the Lord for protection? Prabhupada said, why I don't fall down? Because I'm always constantly asking Krishna for protection. So this taking up to the process, and then Shrimvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hridyantasto Hyabhadrani Vidunoti Surit Satam. Krishna is the benefactor of the truthful devotee, and he cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotees who have developed what? The urge to hear his messages. So fixing our minds on Krishna, this is the most purifying thing there is. Fixing our minds in Krishna, hearing about Krishna, taking shelter of the holy name. And I just like to share a couple of things that, it's been happening for me over the last kind of week or so, couple of weeks. I kind of started to make just a little effort to improve the quality of my japa. Generally, my mind says, your japa is okay. I don't generally fall asleep. I get my rounds done on time. I can chant my rounds in one go usually. And I don't really struggle to get them done. But then, I was thinking, is that all it is about holy name? Can go much deeper, And so I started to pick up a few books about japa and about different devotees' realizations of their own struggles to, improve the quality of the japa. And Prabhu, as soon as I started to make that effort, Krishna started to reveal so many imperfections, so many things that I needed to adjust. I was covered. And this is what I wanted. And the thing is that sometimes when we make the effort, it becomes more and more painful. It seems almost that you try harder and it gets worse. It's the same with cleaning. When you go really deep into cleaning, all the dust comes out. And sometimes we don't want to do that. So as soon as I started to do that, the immediate reciprocation takes place. And this is our main activity. If we want to clean the heart, then we have to really take deep shelter of the holy name. And then, I've been doing some, trying to work on my health for some time now. And I realized that, because for many years as a brahmachari, it's almost like the body is something that you don't take care of. It's like a bag of pus, blood, mucus. But it was a misconception that the body is actually something that, is given to us by the Lord to be used in the service of the Lord. So I was kind of working on my health, and I noticed the same thing, that I set some kind of target, and when I reached that target, then I realized that, wow, there is this now coming. There is something else that I need to work on. And then I reached that thing, and you always come to a point where there is something that it requires a lot more energy to clean, a lot more energy to heal. And that is when the real effort and the real application of Krishna consciousness, takes place. And I'm just using an analogy in terms of health, and actually in terms of improving our japa. But it applies to every field, every area of Krishna consciousness. Wherever we place our attention, we will improve the area of our spiritual lives. So, Lord Chaitanya, he is cleaning the temple, and all the devotees everything is clean, let's clean it again. Everything is clean, let's clean it again. So that's the spirit. And when we act in that spirit, Krishna helps. Vidu notis surit satam. I am the benefactor of the truthful devotee, and I will personally clean the dirt, clean the dust. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Any questions or comments from anyone? Thank you very much for your attention. Yeah?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for a nice class. Something that comes to my mind when you explain about the cleaning of the heart and about chanting better rounds, quality japa. Srila Prabhupada said that our chanting cannot be better if the hearing is not proper. The hearing, Shravana, without Shravanam, we cannot do proper Kirtanam. So, when we hear properly and sufficiently from a pure devotee, then our chanting automatically becomes more quality. Gaur Govinda Maharaj used to say that unless we understand the tattvas properly, like Jiva Tattva, Guru Tattva, Krishna Tattva, understanding the position of Krishna and his glories and our position and relationship, this Sambandha Jnana that you are explaining, we cannot chant properly. And the only way our endeavor has some value is when we are able to cry for Krishna, like cry from the core of our heart. Without being able to cry for Krishna, it's just that our attempts are futile, no matter how much strongly, how much intensely we want to do things. We are mostly sitting in our mind making calculations. I want to do this, I want to do like this, I want to do like that, like this. But unless we cry for Krishna, and if we cannot cry, we have to cry that we are not able to cry for Krishna, then actually the real help starts to come in. It's something I recollect.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you for that. Yeah, and that's what I was explaining about Sambandha Jnana. It's so important. So important. But, this point about developing that eagerness to hear, we get that from the devotees. We get that through reading Srila Prabhupada's books. We get that from our own, practice of Krishna, intent, Tivrena Yoga, Tivrena Bhakti-yoga, is that intense practice of devotional service. That's what brings about that eagerness. And that eagerness is the price for getting Krishna. Casual Krishna consciousness, social Krishna consciousness, I come for the kirtans and I chat with the devotees, okay, it is good, but that's not the desired goal. This is Tivrena Bhakti, is when we come to that point of actually wanting Krishna so much. We want Krishna so much that we don't want anything else, and the desire is burning in our hearts so intensely that Krishna cannot help but come. He's just, but how are we going to cultivate that desire? We have to cry. And like I believe Subhag Swami told Gaur Govinda Maharaj, well, but I cannot cry for Krishna. And then Gaur Govinda Swami said, then you have to cry that you're not crying. And if you cannot cry that you're not crying, cry that you're not crying, that you're not crying. So when we're sitting down for our japa, when we're sitting down to do a service, that's the introspection that needs to take place. What is my aspiration? How serious am I about taking this practice? Am I just trying to get my rounds on? Or is this a point of communion with the Lord, where I'm sitting down and I'm associating directly with Krishna? I'm putting aside whatever other thoughts are going in my mind, and I'm letting the holy name, which the acharyas glorify, is non-different from Krishna. Rupa Goswami is praying, let me have thousands of mouths, thousands of ears. Let me hear the holy name. Slow down the mind. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And just go and associate with the Lord. It's that simple. But the mind makes it very complicated. So we need to have Sambandha Jnana, and then we have to become free from the anarthas, which are the apparats, desires, and the miserliness of the heart. And particularly days like today, and tomorrow is Ratha Yatra, it can be a meditation that bringing the Lord. We want the Lord to come into our hearts. We want to be in the Lord's association, because there is nothing more fulfilling. There is no greater gain to attain. We have been deprived from that association for how long? I rejected you. I want to be back with you. I'll finish this with a quick story. I'm a little bit out of time, but I think it's relevant. There was one time that the devotees were on a morning walk with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada saw a car called, what was the name of the bird? It's skipping from my mind now. Thunderbird or something. Thunderbird. That was the name of the car. And Prabhupada asked, "What is this? What is this?" And the boy said, "We don't know. I think it's just some, Indian American legend about this thunderbird, And Prabhupada said, "Actually, in India we have this thunderbird. It's called chakora, and it says that this bird, it will only it will only drink from the cloud. It will stay with the cloud, no matter if the cloud gives thunder, if the cloud gives rain, if the cloud doesn't give, it will just stay with the cloud. It will not take shelter or mercy from anyone else." And the devotees were a bit puzzled. What is the meaning of this? And Prabhupada said that a pure devotee is like this chakora bird. He will only take mercy from Krishna. Krishna's name is also Ganashyam. It's like a dark cloud, right? So he says, the devotee, he will only take shelter of the Lord. And he says, when a devotee comes to that point, like he only wants to take shelter from Krishna, then Krishna becomes purchased. Krishna comes. So these are all very high things. But the fact that they are high things, it doesn't mean that we should not aspire for them and make our own way, one step at a time, to come to that stage, so that at the point of death, just like Bhishma Dev, we can fix our minds on the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantharaj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. You have a question also?
His Grace Radhika Nagara Prabhu ki jai.
Gaura Bhakta-vrinda ki jai.
Let us all thank him by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.